Great to have you with us. Now, former Attorney General Marietta Apia-Opong has called on state institutions concerned to watch the latest Anas investigative piece exposing the rots in Ghana football to do the needful. Madame Opong, who joined hundreds of corruption watchers to premiere the documentary at 3 p.m., described contents of the piece as disgraceful and embarrassing. Other patrons shared their views in an interview with Joy News after the first showing yesterday afternoon.
Embarrassing, shocking. I mean, this sports is the passion of the nation, and then what happened at the tail end, I just don't get it.
And then what punishment would you suggest they give to them?
I'm not going to suggest any punishment. The authorities should watch it and then do what they ought to do. They should do the needful.
It's an interesting watch. I would say that it didn't live up to its billing, but generally I think that it exposed a lot in Ghanaian sports, and there's a lot to do to redeem the image of Ghana sports. And so we look forward to seeing some real action by the players in the industry and by the government as well. We want to see how this matter is dealt with, the test case for us as a nation, and we hope that it doesn't go the way that it normally goes, where there's public euphoria and then after the euphoria nothing happens. We want to see some real action, people taken to tax for this kind of behavior.
Seemingly responsible person will make such statements to the public. And the president was emphatic in saying that he knows next to nothing about what Kwesi Nyantakyi is purported to have said. So I think that's the story as far as the presidency is concerned. But Kwesi Nyantakyi, if actually that is what happened, he acted very recklessly and very irresponsibly.
I think that if we go further, and I'm also urging a lot of companies to come with undercover investigation, and it will help, so nobody will be safe in this country. So if you think you are investigating somebody, there should be also somebody who can also investigate the investigator. By that doing, I think Ghana will go far, because corruption is killing us in this country. Corruption is killing us in this country. And most of these things happen from 2019, 2016, 2015, 2014. So I think political parties should not take credit that, oh, these people are corrupt. It happened from 2014 when people was not in power to 2017. Okay, so this also will boost the investment community, the morale to come to Ghana, that there is something going on.
Meanwhile, former Youth and Sports Minister Neelante van der Poy hints the Parliament's Sports Committee will hold an emergency meeting following yesterday's premiering of the documentary most patrons have described as devastating to the country's football game. Mr. van der Poy was speaking to my colleague Mamavi Osuabwaje earlier on News Desk.
We need to do that today is for the government through the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The Ghana Football Association is not wholly autonomous. It depends on funding from government. The monies that are given to Ghana Football Association is not for their own personal use. It's given to Ghana as an affiliated member of FIFA for the development of the game in the name of Ghana.
Yesterday, we gave opportunity for the members of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Youth, Sports and Culture to watch it, and I'm very sure they will be calling for an emergency meeting on what to do, because I remember very well when I was having this running battle with the FA on the same thing. The current minister was a ranking member, and he called me before the committee to answer questions on why I was going on that tangent with them. So I think we will bring him to Parliament to answer same questions. But I agree totally with what my member. I think we have a holistic general reforms of the structure and the administration of the FA. We need to, because from what George Ado said, if we don't change the constitution, the structure, the makeup of the FA as it is today, we will elect somebody who tomorrow will also go on the same tangent of power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. That's exactly what Nyantakyi has done, and today it has landed over. It got to a time when Nyantakyi coughs, and that's the end of Ghana football. And so we need to sit down critically and say that, look, we've come this far.
Let's move to the chamber now, and some minority MPs are calling for an independent inquiry into revelations in the Anas Arimeyal Anas documentary. They say the link between Kwesi Nyantakyi and Deputy Minister Anthony Abayefa-Kabo is too strong to be ignored. I've been joined on the line by Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, who is our parliamentary correspondent. Joseph, who are these minority MPs who have been speaking?
So I've been speaking to the Member of Parliament for the Buedi constituency, Samson Ahi, who makes the point that from what he's seen in the video, it's so damning that there's the need for other agencies to look into it even beyond what the police is investigating, because he is of the opinion that to a very large extent, when it comes to the administration of the country, the issues having to do with corruption and so things, that there is a need for others to look into it, even beyond what the police are doing and the possible criminal prosecutions that could come up as a result of that. But there's been reactions to that from those on the majority side. I've been speaking to the Member of Parliament for the Efidratia Sokore constituency, Dr. Nana Uefriye, who holds a contrary opinion. He thinks that what was put out in the video is a clear indication that the GFA president, Kwesi Nyantakyi, was only bluff about his said links to the presidency, and that there's nothing substantive in that worth looking into. So it's virtually taking a political swing.
Right, but earlier, Neelante van der Poy, who is Member of Parliament for Ododo Diodio, mentioned that the Youth and Sports Committee will be holding an emergency meeting. Has that meeting come off?
From what we gather, this is something that will be happening a little later. That hasn't actually, it's not a meeting that has begun yet.
Okay.
I've spotted a lot of the members of that particular committee in the chamber at the moment, and all they do is holding private discussions about what they saw in the video yesterday.
Thank you very much, Joseph. But you mentioned that these members of parliament are holding private discussions. It seems like there's quite a backlash or shockwaves to parliament as a result of this.
There's a lot of conversation ongoing around this, particularly reference being made to a former member of parliament, Robert Staffel, who was captured in the video as having gone ahead to take some amount of money, and in conversation, MPs making the point that this is quite a terrible situation for themselves and even the MP in question, and for the image of the House generally, looking at the fact that he's a former honorable member of parliament.
Thank you very much, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo.
What we heard overnight, that our CEO has been sacked. So that's why we are demonstrating. We want to know why our CEO is being sacked. So that is why we are demonstrating this morning.
But have you spoken to authorities?
No, that is why we are calling for our course ahead to lead us through whatever we are doing. That is why we are here saying we want the chance. He is the course ahead president, so he's the one to.
But you could have written a letter to him.
We can do that. We have executives under the course.
So they could have done that.
One was leading us, so we are going by their instructions. That is it.
Those are voices of some staff of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital demonstrating against the dismissal of the acting chief executive officer of the hospital, Dr. Felix Anya. President Akufo-Addo relieved Dr. Anya, who was off his post yesterday. Now, reasons for the dismissal are still unclear, but the workers who are not in favor of the president's decision are currently in red armbands demanding reasons for the dismissal of the acting CEO. Let's cross over live to Kolebu Teaching Hospital and speak with my colleague Parker Wilson for more. Parker, what's the situation at Kolebu Teaching Hospital at the moment?
Well, let me say, Daniel, that the president for the Senior Staff Association, Charles Affairs, has been able to manage the angry staff who are not satisfied with the situation, and he has dispersed the crowd. Now, what he told them was that the authorities haven't been, they've not received any official communication from the presidency to that effect, as in to the dismissal of the acting CEO, Dr. Enya, and so they need to exercise some restraint. They are only demonstrating based on hearsay or rumors, because when they came to the administration block, the protesters were actually demanding for reasons why their acting CEO has been dismissed, and some of them brought placards which read that a CEO has brought stability to Kolebu, a CEO is bringing development to Kolebu. We need reasons why president has dismissed the CEO. So these were some of the placards that they brought. But then Charles Fairfarm told them that they should exercise restraint. He's been speaking to those at the presidency to also understand what is really happening. So he pleaded with them to go back to work, and indeed they understood him, they considered, and went back to work. So as I speak to you, the place is calm, no one is demonstrating. But however, the protesters have issued a 3-day ultimatum to the authorities that they should respond to their concerns. Now, failure to do so, clearly, they will lay down their suit.
Thank you very much, Parker Wilson, for that report. Parker is currently at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Meanwhile, full operations have resumed at the Takoradi and Tema ports following a sit-down strike by some workers yesterday in solidarity with dismissed CEO Paul Ansah-Sarri. Kwame Yanka is our correspondent in Tema and joins us live from the port with the latest. Kwame, if you can hear me, what is the latest at the port?
Well, currently work is ongoing. I've been to the various offices of the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, that's the office in Tema here. Now, yesterday when the news broke that the DG, that Director General, Mr. Paul Ansah, has been dismissed, well, there was some spontaneous reaction, but we were told union members at the time hung some red bands, but they were immediately taken off somewhere in the afternoon. But this morning, well, when I came here, the bands were not here, all right, but then they've come back and then hung the bands. I'm also told that they'll be meeting in the coming days, but they actually ended the meeting with management. But when I tried to find out whether the meeting had anything to do with Mr. Paul Ansah's dismissal, I was told that nothing of the sort came up. It had to do with condition of workers, but they have been more or less trying to get management to address issues regarding their conditions, but then these issues have not been addressed until Paul Ansah's dismissal yesterday. So the dismissal had nothing to do with their meeting today, but if there will be anything at all, that will take place in their subsequent meetings.
Is there any indication that the workers would take action again?
Well, they did not give any affirmative answers, where they're only telling us, well, the dismissal, as it were, Mr. Paul Ansah's appointment was political, so if he's been dismissed, well, there's virtually nothing they can do. But then, for them, it's a matter of fighting for their rights as well as issues regarding their conditions.
Right, thank you very much, Kwame Yanka, for that report. Kwame Yanka was speaking there from the Tema port. Now let's go to the Takoradi port. As you know, that's another institution that is governed by the GPHA. Natalia Kwanta is a woman on the ground there. She joins us on phone. Natalia, what's the situation at the Takoradi port?
Okay, Daniel, the workers have begun work. For now, they are all working. Yesterday, there was a sit-down strike for some few hours, but I understand that they were told to go to work. So as of yesterday evening up to now, workers are working.
Do we know why they were told to go back to work?
They did not disclose, and these workers now do not want to even speak to the media because some of them say they feel if they are not careful with whatever they put out there, they might lose their job.
We understand that in Tema, the workers are scheduling to meet with management and it may come up in any such meeting. Do we know of any such moves in Takoradi?
No, Daniel.
Right, thank you very much, Natalia Kwanta, for that report. Still to come and join news today, residents of Abuabo in the Ashanti region are enthused about the ongoing dredging works in the area, expected to cut down flooding there. Details of that and more a bit later on Joy News Today. Stay with us. Still watching Joy News Today. Thanks for staying with us. Let's take you to court now because we understand there's an update on that court case involving the former administrators of the National Communications Authority. Joseph Akable is our man in court. Joseph, what's the latest?
Well, Daniel, the latest is that the Supreme Court has unanimously ruled that the Attorney General is supposed to make available all documents it intends to rely on in this particular case available to the accused persons or the individuals who are standing trial for the various offenses. The court, however, went a step further to place some restrictions on this access. The concern by the justice who read the decision, Justice Sophia Adinyira, was to the effect that even though the court admits that it was important to respect the rights of accused persons to a fair trial, that right must be balanced to the interests of the state and the public good. So questions of, in the cases where someone has gone to act as a whistleblower and has gone to give some information to the state and the state is prosecuting someone, having access to all documents will mean that you have to disclose the identity of this individual, and that could affect the safety of that individual. So the restriction that was placed was to the effect that the Attorney General can hold on to some of these documents, but that has to be explained to the judge hearing that particular case, and the judge will review it and take a decision on whether it should grant that restriction or not. In the event that is not done at that level, it can also be referred to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court to decide whether that restriction should be granted or not. So this gives clearance to the two high-profile cases that are currently on hold, that involving former Kokobon CEO Dr. Stephen Kwabno Puni, that was put on hold, awaiting this decision, as well as the other case involving the former top NTA officials.
When you say it gives clearance to these two cases, what does it mean?
What it means is that if you pick the NTA case, the request by the lawyers for the documents, when they placed the request, the Attorney General opposed the request, saying that some restrictions needed to be imposed. So the case was referred to the Supreme Court for a decision to be taken, and that when the decision from the Supreme Court came, it will give clearance to the judge to decide which documents the AG should be providing to them. So now this decision has come, meaning that the lower court judge, the high court judge, now has to fix a date to continue hearing of this case, because they now have a clear sense of which documents the AG should give to the defense lawyers. With regards to the Dr. Puni case, a referral was not made, but they said that they are aware that a case has already been referred to the Supreme Court for a decision, and that decision will obviously be binding on the High Court. So that case, there's already a date, it's June 11, that was already fixed for hearing to be, for the case to be heard by the court. So we can expect the trial of Dr. Stephen Kwabno, the former Kokobon CEO, to resume on June 11.
Thank you very much, Joseph Akable, for that report. Residents of Abuabo and Dichemso in Kumasi are skeptical that ongoing dredging of the Abuabo storm drain can end recurrent flooding in the area. They say the project in its current form could become a wasteful venture and defeat its objective. And now on Joy News Agenda today, Love FM's Kwesi Deborah brings you the concerns of people in the two communities.
A 3-inch concrete structure is all that is left of this 10-meter well attached to a mosque near the airport roundabout. Only the top floor of the 2-story place of worship, located about 100 meters away from the Abuabo storm drain, is usable. It's the situation for most buildings at Dichemso and Abuabo. The flat lines on the walls tell it all. Those who can afford additional height for their walls in two of Kumasi's most flood-prone areas can claim some amount of safety. The rest of them can be described as water reservoirs, almost always submerged. Jacob Brimer, a resident, blames the situation on human activity that disturbs the natural course of the Abuabo River. The waters don't have a place to drain off. They scale the walls and fill up the houses.
For the past 1 year,
The bridge is too low, so in short time, it gets choked by the refuse and sand. Last month, municipal authorities initiated a dredging project. Vulcanizer Kwame Ampofo witnessed the ceremony and commencement of work. Following a downpour 24 hours afterwards, he needed support of volunteers to prevent his equipment and tires from being carried away by flood water. They should have started from Moshizongo area because it's on a higher ground, but they decided to dredge the drain here. Because of that, the sand finds itself here after the rains. It's unnecessary. They should start from Moshizongo so that the sand can gradually become less. The authorities know. For decades, millions of Ghana cedis have been spent dredging the drain. But residents here are not impressed. Are they better engineers? Maybe they are. For time is beginning to tell. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Dera, Abuabo, Kumasi.
Let's go from Abuabo to Tema. Authorities of the Tema Technical Institute have asked students to go home for a week over a bed bug infestation. After students protested on Tuesday, the boarders resolved not to attend classes until the situation is resolved. Some of the students accused management of turning a blind eye to their complaints. Kwame Anker's report.
When the news team got to the school, students were seen with their belongings moving out in groups. Others were seen loitering as they did not see the one-week break coming. Apart from bed bugs, students say insanitary conditions in the school, including unclean washrooms, are among reasons behind the agitation. Some students have been speaking to Joy News.
For a whole week, we are not going to learn. Yeah, we are not going to learn for a whole week, and it's going to disturb us a lot.
According to the boarders, they weren't able to sleep yesterday because the bed bugs level was very high, and it was very disturbing. So this morning I came to school and I realized, almost all the boarders are not in class. All I can find is the day students.
Meanwhile, management of Tema Technical says there are plans to fumigate the dormitories before the students return next week. However, the issue of absence of water was disputed as reservoirs have been filled to improve access to water. Kwame Yanka's report for Joy News.
Let's now go to the Volta region and give you an update on preparations towards the National Science and Maths Quiz.
The National Science and Maths Quiz tested the knowledge of students in physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics disciplines. There were moments of joy, shocks, and disappointments. Some underdog senior high schools and first-timers pulled surprises. St. Mary's Seminary Senior High School has been constant reps at the National Science and Maths Quiz. They beat competition from Kmando, Likpe, and Dofo Senior High Schools to pick the first spot with 34 points. Akaji Senior High Technical School, which was represented by Ashimate Hari and Zagade Erickson, recorded one of the highest scores in the first round with 20 points. They finished their contest scoring 48 points to book a place in the national event. Their competitors, Oti Senior High Technical, Jolo, and Vakpo Senior High Schools had 16, 5, and 7 points respectively at the end of the contest. Sunrise Christian Senior High School, one of the new entrants, trumped over St. Paul's, Kwachi, and Okwanta Senior High Schools to win a slot. One of the representatives of Sunrise, Abalivo Mauli indicated their winning was as a result of intense training and preparation.
At school we had so many contests among ourselves, so that perseverance and competition.
Meanwhile, a physics teacher at St. Paul Senior High School, Wellington Sefa, attributes their defeat to ill preparations due to lack of resources.
To motivate the teachers to put up their best, okay, you need to motivate the students, and you need to give them logistics like past questions, textbooks, and a whole lot. So we are only praying that the old boys of St. Paul's will throw their weight behind us next time, so that we will come as a formidable team.
At the Dome Senior High School, which participated in last year's national event, was unable to qualify for the 2018 edition. Though they won the first round, Sokode Senior High Technical, which was seen as an underdog, managed to pick a spot, winning with 20 points. The quiz hall was flooded with euphoria when Sokode Senior High Technical was announced the winner.
To me, it was a close one, a very tough one, because it's all of the contests, both the round 1, 2, and 3, all depend on the last round, which is the riddle. But if any school could have answered the riddle, like our brother's school at this SEC, if they should have answered at least one riddle, like would have beaten it. So to me, it's a very close one, a very tough one too. But we thank God for senior straight.
18 senior high schools from the Volta region will be participating at the national event. Fred Kwame Asari reporting for Joy News from Ho.
Congratulations to the qualified and seeded schools. The preliminary stages of the competition begins on Monday. But it's time for business with Emmanuel Abuajebiafi. Stay with us.